Thank you.
Thank you, Dallas and gentlemen of the band. So I'm back and delighted to be back. I was here toward the end of last July. And later in the summer, I got an email from Rev Deanne who said, "Would you consider coming back again?" And I said, "Heck yes, I would." And so she said, "Great, how does November 3rd work for you?" And I looked at my calendar and looked wide open, clear, no problem. Sure, I'll do November 3rd. And I gave her the title, Yes to All of Me, because it's something I've been playing with for a while now. Then about a month ago, I happened to see all of my calendar, rather than the silo of work, and the silo of family, and the silo. I went, oh my goodness, that's the Sunday before Election Day. How am I going to talk about saying yes to all that we are 2 days before that day? Thankfully, I recovered myself. I realized that spiritual practice is actually supposed to be something we do regularly. It's the foundation of who and how we are. So whether there's an issue around a relationship or an amazing vacation coming up or an election or whatever, we still have that foundation of who we are and whose we are. So I'm here to talk about saying yes to all of who we are as a core practice, even in this time. I'm going to start with a phrase that I hear now and then when I ask someone at our center up in Santa Rosa how they're doing with their practice. And what they often say is, "Great, I'm a work in progress. It's going really well." And I suspect that it sounds like a pretty good response. It's not real arrogant, it's kind of humble, but it's acknowledging progress. But there's something else to it that isn't all that lovely. When we say we are works in progress, that means we're not yet there. We still have things to fix, to change, to do better, to get rid of, to lose, etc., etc., etc. And, at least for me, I would notice when I have that to-do list of how I'm finally going to get it right, there's all kinds of stuff I have to do that keeps me really busy, really involved, and not paying attention to the feelings and the challenges and the other stuff that's also part of the wholeness that I am. So today I'm going to talk about your saying yes to yourself from the perspective that you're already, as we say all the time in Science of Mind, whole, perfect, and complete. The first time I heard that, I didn't say it out loud, but in my head I said, "Yeah, right, I'm whole, perfect, and complete. You have no idea." I suspect at least a few of you that chuckled have had that same experience when hearing whole, perfect, and complete. Not yet, or no way, or if you knew me. So I've been working with a book for a while. In fact, I think it's about the 5th time I've created a book study circle around it. It's called What's in the Way is the Way. And the author is Mary O'Malley. I'm going to read something that she has to say about what we're talking about. So begin by just settling in for a moment. and bring to mind something you're working on to make things better in your life, in yourself, in your family. Bring to mind something you're working on to get it right. And just kind of notice how you think and feel about that, whatever it is. Got the feeling? Now open your eyes, and without whacking your neighbor, shake off that feeling, whatever that feeling was. Now, here comes Mary O'Malley with an alternate view. Here are her words from What's in the Way is the Way. Again, soften your gaze or close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Imagine a day when everything was okay. Not just okay, but really okay. You may have just fallen in love or received something you'd waited for a long time. Or maybe you're on vacation with no pressures, lying on a beach in deep contentment. Allow the images of your okay day to fill you up. Go for the gusto. Let that okayness in. Let it flood your mind, your body, and your heart. Now, notice what you are experiencing as you use your imagination to open up to the joy of everything being okay. In your mind, there's probably a sense that nothing needs to be any different than it is. In your body, there's likely an experience of deep relaxation that allows for the glow of joy. Your heart is open, spacious, and light. Be in that okayness. Breathe, rest, be. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. Here, now. And then take a breath, perhaps a bit deeper than before, and gently come back into the service. With that experience and noticing the difference, I want to take us into why saying yes to all that we are is a gift, is a way of freeing ourselves. There's nothing to fix, nothing to modify, nothing to change. All that we need to do is to be clear, to see, to realize, to recognize who and how we already are. And here's why that's important and why I'm talking about that in this moment. I'll share a story that's kind of a good example because thank goodness I've outgrown it. About 12 years ago, I got a call in the middle of the night, and for once it was a good call. It was my daughter calling to say that her water had broken and my first grandchild was on their way. She also told me that it was likely going to be a while, so to go back to sleep and drive down after I woke up. So I did that. I drove down from Redding to Santa Rosa and waited and waited and waited and waited. Finally, the midwife chased us out of the house and said, "Go away. You're making her nervous. Go away. We'll text you when it's almost going to happen." And so I did that. And I stayed down with my daughter and her wife and their new family, the new grandchild, for a few days after that, because when my daughter was born, my in-laws had done that, and it was such a gift that I got to be with the baby, and the in-laws did all the cooking and cleaning and all that stuff I really didn't want to do. About 3 days into that, My daughter came up to me and said, "Mom, I need to talk to you about something." She proceeded to tell me that though I hadn't said a word to either her or her wife, Melissa, they absolutely got how much I was judging their parenting. Because, of course, I knew how they should be doing it, right? Because I knew what I'd screwed up with my daughter, and so they should do it better. She gave me an ultimatum. Either stop judging us or go back home. Happened to be, I think, a Saturday, because I remember the next day when I went to our center in Santa Rosa, I went to the bookstore and I bought a wall hanging. Mother Teresa saying, "If you judge people, you have no time to love them. If you judge people, you have no time to love them." There's an even more powerful version of that I learned in the past month. If I judge myself, I have no time to love myself. And here's part of the link to the elections. If I'm judging myself to feel good, I have to look out and judge other people so that I know I'm better than folks. Because I, in my own heart, am not so sure that I'm okay. That's one of the core reasons why we emphasize getting to know who we are, to be clear about who we are, and to accept who we are, so that we don't go around making everybody else other. I love that your values center on connection and inclusivity as well as authenticity, because all three of those are important, especially in times like these. So that's kind of my lecture-y part of this talk. Now I'm going to give you some things to think about and to listen to. And I'm going to skip ahead because I have it all outlined, but I don't need my outline so much because I know what I'm telling you guys. So what I want to read to you is something the founder in Science of Mind is Ernest Holmes, and I suspect you recognize his name. He has something to say about being in the okayness, being in the I love myself. I don't have time to judge myself about all this stuff. And it centers on the phrase we use, whole, perfect, and complete. In his somewhat old-fashioned language, here's what he has to say. It is not enough to say there is one life, and that life is God. We must complete this statement by saying, that life is my life now. Because we must couple this life of spirit, the divinity, with ours in order that we express it, that we can express that aliveness within us. We are not becoming this life, but are now in and of this life. There is no other life. God is not becoming, God is. God is not growing, God is complete. God is not trying to find something out. God already knows. And that God, that divinity, that allness is expressing uniquely as each one of us and as all creation. Sometimes we mess up and we don't quite clear the screen enough that we get what's trying to come through. But that's the essence of each and every one of us. Whole, complete, and perfect. No matter what we think. Fundamentally, We are enough. We are okay. We are doing our best. So I'm going to go back to Mary O'Malley, and What's in the Way is the Way. In her talk about coming into a sense of okayness, she has 3 elements to it. And we're midway through the current iteration of that book study. So we've gone over the first piece, which is that you are okay. You don't have to fix yourself, change yourself, get rid of things, hide things. All of you is okay. There may be some things you want to get a little clearer on, but that's the next piece. The next piece is that, in fact, you are in this okayness of what she calls the meadow. And the reason she uses the meadow metaphor is because there are clouds blocking your view of this exquisite meadow, this okayness that you're in. Those clouds are the storyteller's attempts to keep you safe and in control. And I love that this community honors safety and knows how important that is. I also suspect you know that you can't control everything, no matter how hard you try. But the stories that we grew up with to make sense of our world as children, the stories that we learn from colleagues, from neighbors, from what everything tells us about how the world works, cause us to judge and feel less than and not good enough and all kinds of stuff that obscures our view of the meadow. Because that storyteller is just gung-ho all the time, trying to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing to keep ourselves safe, protected, and okay. Ironically, all of that keeps us from knowing we're already there. We're now in the last 3 weeks of our book study. And this is the piece that I find the most valuable, and it's the piece that's most relevant to what we're talking about this morning. And that is that life is for us, which means the stuff that bubbles up as challenges, as frustrations, as whatever, actually is a little nudge for us to pay attention to something, for us to come to understand something. Here's my embarrassing example from back in the days I lived up in Reading. In Reading, I was working with an attorney who absolutely needed to have perfect, fast internet all the time to do his job, because he was an appellate-type lawyer who consulted with other attorneys around the state. In the area of Reading where we lived, we had AT&T, unless we wanted to put up a satellite and all that other stuff. And probably at least every 2 months, I had to make a call to AT&T and say, we can't connect, it's too slow, it's dropping things, help. The first couple of times I called them, they said, have you checked to see it's plugged in, is the modem on, and 4 or 5 other very basic things. And so I went through them with them on, speakerphone and did all those things and said, nope, still doesn't work. The third time I called them, I had already done those other 6 things. And I said, our internet is dropping our connections. Well, first you need to check that it's on, and then stop. I already did that. Our internet is dropping our connection. They went back to their script. These are the things you need to do first. And after you've done those things, then we can see what else might be wrong. I didn't swear. All I did was say, thank you. It happened that I was in prayer practitioner studies at the time, the equivalent of your prayer chaplain, I expect. And part of what we do in that time of study is to really look at what's up with us. And so at some point, maybe the 5th or 6th call on this thank you, I decided maybe I should look at why that trigger what was up with that trigger. that this little event, some poor person, wherever that person was trying to help me out, and they ticked me off. So I sat with it, I journaled with it, I prayed about it. And then I realized something that really helped me to see myself better. When I was a child, one of the ways that I knew I had value was because my family and my teachers really liked how smart I was and all the stuff I could do. And so being smart was one of the ways I knew I mattered. Talking to the folks at AT&T, saying to them, I've already done this, and having them ignore what I said and the brilliance of what I had already done, hit that value in me and said, are you really valuable? Are you really smart? And that triggered this big, way beyond what it should have been, reaction. Because something in that interaction triggered my own not sure I had value. Something in everything that happens that triggers things is also inviting you to look into yourself and see what story is going on. There are a whole variety of ways to do that. Here are a few. One is quietly, somewhere where you won't be disturbed for 5 or 10 minutes, sit and just gently tune into your body. Notice if there's a place that's tense or hurting or otherwise not quite at ease. And then, with compassionate curiosity, not to fix it, get rid of it, or ignore it, what do you want me to know? Butterflies. What do you want me to know? Shoulder ache. What do you want me to know about myself? That's one. And do it gently and compassionately, and not for hours, just for a little bit of time. Another, which has stunned me recently with what I find, is when you first wake up, scan your body to see if you're relaxed or not. And if you've got a little tension, like the Sunday morning before you give a talk, notice it and say, hey, it's okay, I see you. It's okay that you're here. Don't try to say, oh, well, this is my 29th talk and I should be all set with this, and why am I so uptight? Just notice and let it be. Another way, what brings you joy? Don't just be in the joy. Notice what brings a smile to your face. And choose to do more of that. What drains you? Why? What do you passionately do, like play, even if it's technically work? Notice those kinds of things. Get to know who all of you is. The brilliance, the commitment, the procrastinating, the whatever. Get to know all of it and welcome all of it. Because whole means not just this special little part over here. It means all that you are. And that's also what you want to offer to others. Not as a doormat, not to say, well, whatever you do, it's cool. That's not it. But to know in each one, as you know in yourself, there's divinity expressing or wanting to express as that person. Notice what you call out in other people. Maybe not verbally, as my daughter said, Mom, we feel it. But the people that you label as less than, bad, idiots, stupid, whatever, that's what you're calling out in them. And it may be showing up in them, and it's not your fault, but you need to call that out. Or is there another way? Your prayer for the country, says it. There's another way to be in integrity, be in wholeness. I'm looking at the clock and going, oh, right, and there's another way to get this talk done. I want to share one other thing that I'm excited about. I'm going to do a workshop this afternoon, and it's not serious, and it's not quiet, and it is spiritual. It's playful spirituality, fun inquiry into who you are. And I invite you, if you're up to it, 12:30, we'll have a circle in here. Come in and get to know yourself and your neighborhood a little bit more. So I'm going to skip a whole bunch of stuff that didn't get said because I went off in all the good things I did want to say. I have a friend and mentor, Rabbi Erwin Keller. I don't know how many of you know him. He's the rabbi at one of the synagogues in Kotati. And he has been thinking about the election, as I think almost everyone I know has been thinking about the election. And he also calls us into living in a way that isn't just about the outside events that then trigger things in us, cause us to react. Instead, he talks about something he calls the field, which I think of as Rumi's field beyond right doing and wrong doing, where people meet in the allness. I'm going to read that in closing, and then we're going to go briefly into our affirmation and prayer. So here's what Erwin has to say. This was part of his message yesterday. This is my prayer for us now, and over this weekend, and next week, and on to the future, that we hold firm to our labor of repairing the field, I would say the field of life, of sowing the tatters in the field of life, that we help the field breathe and become strong, that we infuse it with values of kindness and peace and the ever rarer respect, so that down the road, as the psalm says, the field shall rejoice, as will everything that is in it. And all of us are in it. Let us be guardians of the field. Let us be strong and resolute. Let us not succumb to feeling alone and insignificant, because we are not alone and we are not insignificant. We are here with each other. We are myriads. We stand shoulder to shoulder and we have each other's back, here to tend the integrity of the country and the world we live in. As is, I'm here in my okayness, in my faith, in all that I am, as are you. Amen. So, the affirmation for today is one that's made up of some words that came to me many years ago when I was beginning to explore becoming a minister. The words are love, trust, let go, be. And your amazing minister, Reverend Deanne, created a richer, fuller affirmation along with the reading, which I encourage you to revisit as you can. This is the affirmation which is going to lead us into a meditation. Centered in truth. Actually, as I speak this, I'm going to speak this and not have you read it. drop into that stillness within you, eyes closed or softening your gaze. Centered in truth, I can love, trust, let go, and be. There is a way in which the power of love that radiates within me, around me, through me, and as me infuses all that is. So I rest in love. In this grace, this warmth, this light of love, I trust. I trust in the unfolding of that moral arc toward justice, toward integrity, toward community and authenticity. I trust because love is all that is. In this trust, I let go of a need to control, to figure out, to fix, to change. I let go into that trust of love, which informs who I am, which clears my vision into the knowing of wholeness, of perfection, of completeness. I let go. Standing in this love, this trust, this letting go, I am exactly as I am. And my willingness to be present, to be all that I am, informs my being and my action. As is, I'm here, centered in truth. I can love, trust, let go, and be. And so it is. Amen.